and welcome to the Alpine Valley School podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gallivan. Today on the show, I sit down with the parents of 3 current students at our school as they share their journey to self-directed education. This is episode 51 of our show. You can find show notes for this episode at alpinevalleyschool.com/podcast/EP51 for episode 51. Before we jump in, let me tell you a little bit more about our school. Alpine Valley School is a private K-12 school located in Denver, Colorado that follows a self-directed democratic education model, also known as the Sudbury model. On this podcast, we discuss our model of education, share stories from day-to-day life at school, and interview families involved in our program on their experiences. If you'd like to share your thoughts and opinions with the show, you can reach us at podcast@alpinevalleyschool.com, or you can find Alpine Valley School on all social media by searching for our name. If you'd like to come to visit, we host open houses several times a year, which you can learn more about on our website. I also have an exciting announcement to share today. At the time this podcast is dropping, March of 2020, we have some scholarships available for the upcoming school year. If you've been interested in alternative education but have been concerned about the price, these scholarships could be the answer you're looking for. The best part is that the scholarship follows your student throughout their entire career at Alpine Valley School. So if you're granted a scholarship, it continues until the time your child graduates. So it's a pretty great thing, and we're so glad to be able to offer it to new families. The only catch is that the deadline is coming up fast, so if you're interested, please reach out to us. You can find out more on our website, alpinevalleyschool.com. Here's today's episode. Now that we're 51 episodes into this show, you've had the chance to hear from a lot of people involved in our school, including graduates and even some current students. But we haven't had much of a chance to sit down with current parents, the people who are actively trusting us with their kids day in and day out. Today, you'll hear from Jake and Sandra Shannon, the parents of 3 current Alpine Valley School students. I asked them about what brought them to alternative education in the first place and what they've noticed in their kids and their family since enrolling. Now that they have the perspective of being involved with our school for a few years, what have they noticed about how their kids have grown and changed? And what do they notice about how they, as parents, have grown as well? And perhaps most importantly, they share how they deal with the uncertainty of taking the road less traveled when it comes to education and how they handle those moments of doubt. I have to say, this is one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, and I'm just really pleased to share it with all of you. Here's Jake and Sandra.
You know, we'd lived in Salt Lake City, and so we had been in Emilio Reggio, we'd been in Montessori, and so we came down here, and you know, it was a lot more expensive here than in Utah, and so we decided to put the kids into a public school and see how that would go, and we didn't make it through the entire school year. So you know, we actually had a pretty bad experience with the public school system. I mean, it was awful. It was awful for us. And we didn't even have to go there to school. But, you know, we had to go to the school that was nearest to us geographically or whatever. And they started at like 7:30 or something crazy. And so the kids had to be on the bus by 7. And then they're gone all day. They come home and they had 3 hours of homework. It was just constantly causing arguments and, you know, bad will in our family because I was constantly yelling for kids to get up, yelling for kids to get their homework done. And then they were going to school and being told what to do all day. I mean, it was really stressful. It was pretty bad. And so we were like, man, we are done. Like it really had pushed us to the breaking point. And so Sandra got on the phone or online or something and saw you guys, and
I was familiar with Sudbury from a friend of mine, and so we thought we'd check it out.
Yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
What I noticed and what I still notice is just that they're happy every day, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that, though, is the lack of stress. When we first brought him here, I mean, it was really, that's the ultimate shock, is like how easy and chill and you just are expecting the other shoe to drop, and it never does. It's just nice and mellow, and you can get the kids here in a kind of a flexible manner and pick them up in a flexible manner. And I mean, it really is mind-boggling, because they don't like when summer break comes or whatever, they're like bummed out, or, you know, like it's a punishment to not be at school.
Yeah.
So that has been pretty amazing.
Yeah. And I also find that they tell us more about the things that they're learning, you know, whether that's on their own or from their friends or from the staff. I mean, whatever the case is, they tell us more about the things that they're learning day to day than in any other school. You know, so I can see that they are learning and oftentimes teaching me things.
It's such a cool premise, because, you know, Sandra and I are both, personally, we really believe a lot in like personal responsibility and being left alone to just do your own, to be weird and to be nonconformist, as long as you're, you know, positive. And this school has really allowed us to embrace that, like in, I mean, levels of magnitude than what we were before. And it was a huge value to us before. And so that's, I think, been one of the greatest things about coming to this school is, you know, the kids are really allowed to be who they are. And that's kind of neat to see.
Even some very subtle differences, like with my daughter at the other schools, she'd always want to, you know, dress like her friends and do all the things that her friends were doing. Whereas now, when they ask us to take them shopping or do things, it's always to get supplies for a project they're doing or, you know, tools that they need. And I'd much rather spend our resources on things like that than trying to keep up with the lifestyles of other people.
It seems like in other schools, it's very heavy and finger wagging and shame and all this kind of stuff. And JC seems more like a drag. And that seems to be a more powerful agent for change, you know, than this heavy, severe, traumatic coming down on somebody. Because I just found that, like, they've all changed a lot. But, you know, Dan he's a very kind of rebellious and independent guy, and he does what the hell he wants to do. And, you know, and so the JC, him just kept bumping up against that wall, and it just wasn't going anywhere, and it's institutionalized, and there's nothing he can do about it. Really got him to be like, okay, you know, instead of like yelling at him or giving him some hang up, or it was a great way for him to really, like Sandra said, learn about, you know, the impact of his behaviors on other people and stuff in a reasonable way.
Well, and I would
not
say,
a heavy-handed way.
Yeah, and I would say all of them are some of the best people I know with regards to conflict management, even when it comes to us. Like, we still have kind of our old ways that we were raised on.
We'll even have an argument, and the kids will be like, guys, come on. And then they'll like counsel us on how to get over our problem. And it's pretty amazing.
Because I think they don't want to go to the JC. They want to resolve conflict. They want to try and work through things in ways that work for everybody. And that's really cool to see.
It really is a bit of a leap of faith. I mean, you just have to talk to people who actually know. I mean, I find that the experts are the ones that are usually the ones that have no clue what they're talking about. But it's the people who actually experienced it and tried this out. You have to ask yourself, you know, you're concerned about how this is going to impact your child. And I think the easiest way is to say, you know, how is freedom and responsibility going to impact your child? Do you think your child being responsible for cleaning up after themselves, or for, you know, the consequences of their actions, or entertaining themselves? What do you think is going to come of that? This is the best place for your kids to grow up and be who they're going to be, you know, without hangups. It's pretty special.
It seems pretty simple to me when the kids are like he said, figuring out what they're going to do with their time and their freedom. And, even at home, it's just such a blessing to know that we can trust them with those decisions. Like they've proven that to us through what's been happening here and what we see at home. Because I did not have a pleasant experience at school because I was in special education back when they didn't think dyslexia was something you could deal with through traditional learning. And you were told you'd never read. I mean, I didn't read till I was 10. So and I'm a CEO of a tech company. I don't put a lot of judgment on my kids because I figure that they'll learn when they learn. My older two can type and probably have better grammar than most of my employees and even myself, so I don't judge them. The youngest, the tinkerer, he's taking a little more time, but his math skills are far beyond what I think most even grown-ups.
But he understands conceptually. I mean, I do have a master's degree in math. And so I talk to him about stuff and he'll be like talking doubles and, Dad, so are there 3 3s and 11? And I'm like, yeah, man, you're 7. Holy shit, that's awesome. All our kids, so not only do they learn incredible communication skills, they learn how to manage their own lives, boredom, how to research things, all that kind of stuff, the freedom and responsibility stuff. But, I think that having them be in a place that allows them that freedom, they're in a better position to determine the course of their own life. They're not waiting for everybody to tell them what to do or some said curriculum. If Billy wants to learn something, he sits down on YouTube and he figures it out.
I just feel like so proud to be raising like some of the happiest and kindest and thoughtful people that I know. And I really believe it has a lot to do with this environment and giving them this gift.
The unknown can be really daunting. There's a lot of like warm and fuzziness that goes with just doing the way that it's always been done. But sometimes I think it's important to really sit down and question, like, what is the way that it's been done? And I really just hope that somebody that's having a hard time with normal school with their kids gives their kids a better experience in growing up, and like ours have. I mean, it's been great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much to the Shannon family for sharing their story with us. We're so glad to have them as part of our community. If you think you might like to also be part of our community, we would love to see you. Check out our website, alpinevalley.school.com, for information on all of our upcoming events or to schedule a tour of our school. If you have an idea for an episode, a question, or a comment, drop us a line at podcast@alpinevalley.school.com or reach out to us on social media. You can find show notes for this episode at alpinevalleySchool.com/podcast/EP51 for episode 51. I'm Mark Gallivan. This is the Alpine Valley School Podcast, and we'll be back again soon with more stories of real learning for real life.